And then recognizing that burnt out, tired is about resistance. And resistance is almost always, for me, stress and resistance are almost always centered in fear. There's some kind of fear or anxiety or anxiousness, reticence, whatever. And so that's a mental process, and that's who I think, that's based on how I see myself in that situation. Remember, my definition of fear is an emotional response to a perception of ourselves as powerless and or unlovable in a given situation. So it's that sense that seeing myself as powerless, that sense of I'm not in control of my life, something is going to happen to me that I can't defend against, or I can't take care of myself, or there's going to be some kind of a negative outcome that I don't have any control over. That generates the mental resistance, and that translates into the physical manifestation of that. In, stress, anxiety affects the body. It wears us out. We wear ourselves out all day long with our thinking. I've been exhausted, and I've never even left the house sometimes because I've just got that negative, that ongoing banter, and this general sense of dread based on my idea about myself that says I can't handle my life. I can't handle what's going on or what's about to happen. So it's a combination of all of that. I think, the way I started out the discussion tonight is learning how to direct my thinking. Learning how to literally, when I have a negative thought and I become aware of it, is to stop thinking that thought. Consciously and deliberately shift my focus, shift my mental attention, and bring up a new thought. Could be an affirmation, could be, there's a few kind of spiritual things, but you could do the serenity prayer if you know that. You could do anything actually that's positive and that's empowering and that centers you. So my point is, we don't have to become a slave to our thinking, especially our negative thinking. And when we learn to direct that, to take responsibility for what I'm thinking, because, the other thing is, well, I'm thinking negative thoughts because you're being a jerk, or because you're not respecting me, or you didn't live up to your part of the bargain, or, I have all these reasons in my head why I have to think the thoughts that I think. Again, it's not bad or wrong, but I think if we want to change our lives, I say, my quote on my website is, change your thoughts about yourself and your life will follow. So if I don't change my thoughts about myself, and then by extension, how I see everybody else and the situations of my life, not much is going to change. But I am going to get more tired. It's going to wear me out. It's going to be more and more dispiriting. That's a good word, dispiriting. It's like the spirit is drained out of us by our negative thinking. And you say, well, but, I'm not making this up. I got a whole lifetime of negative experiences. They did this to me when I was a kid, and then they did that to me in school, and then they did this to me in my job, and then this relationship ended because I got a whole litany of justifications why I'm thinking negative thoughts all day. But I'm going to suggest that, again, maybe the experiences follow the thoughts as opposed to the experience causing the thoughts. Or at least it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It becomes a vicious cycle. It becomes this ongoing drama, and we have all the evidence about how they did us wrong and how they hurt us and how they were neglectful and how life has been unfair to us, and we have proof. I can show you pictures. I can show you video of how life has been unfair to me. I built my case. I'm ready to go to court to prove how hard life is, how unfair life is. Again, I'm going to suggest, it's just something to think about. But it's when we learn to redirect our thinking, when we learn to consciously and deliberately That's what true power is. What's true power? True power is the ability to consciously choose and or change our thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. We can all do this, and it's actually not even that hard. Once for me, it's like I'm learning that the reason I think what I think is because I value certain things in my life. I value feeling like a victim. I value people treating me unfairly. I value life not working out. I just bought a brand new computer and it's a mess. And I spent, the whole afternoon on this, and it's like, it just fulfills this prophecy that, spend all this money and then it doesn't work out. There's something wrong with it. So it's like, it could just be the computer, but it could also be, how, number one, I get to choose how I respond to that. And I notice, I'm feeling like a victim. I'm feeling defeated. It's like, I shopped for weeks and months and I thought I found the right one and the screen's a mess. And I don't think it's just this computer. I think it's this brand. They have this issue because I have another one of their screens and it has similar issues. So, but I get to choose. What am I going to focus on? And I want to lash out and I want to say, how could you do this? And, this is so unfair and life should be different. Eckhart Tolle talks about, and actually 12-step programs talk about, it all starts with accepting what is, not being in opposition to what's actually happening in this moment. Because the whole problem with the computer is not that there's a problem with it, but I don't think it should be that way. I think it should be different than it is. And I translate that into, well, that means life is unfair. That means, I have a whole litany of what that means to me. Remember, this is so important. We give every situation all the meaning that it has for us. So I can interpret this situation with the computer however I want. I'm giving it the meaning that I'm giving it. And so when I take responsibility for my thoughts, feelings, words, and actions, I begin to look at that and say, wow, do I really want to, stress myself out? Do I want to feel like a victim? I feel physically, I could feel it in my body. When I feel like a victim, I get exhausted, my body hurts, it's hard for me to focus. And part of the problem is, maybe they won't take the computer back if I don't like it. And then what am I going to do? I got to fight with this big corporation to get my money back. So I start that whole thing. So that's a part of my history, is feeling victimized by large corporations, by the government, by, authority figures. So I can go down that road. I could spend hours thinking about how I'm going to get my money back for this goddamn computer that they screwed up, instead of at least saying, my affirmations, which is I can take care of myself in all situations and with all people. I got this. This is going to work out okay. I'm not who I used to be. I know how to take care of myself. Things always work out for me. But all those positive affirmations go out the window when I'm confronted with this situation that I didn't anticipate. And I want to feel, and here's the thing, I really am choosing that. I'm literally choosing to feel victimized by my situation. Nobody makes me feel anything, ever. Doesn't mean they're acting appropriately. Doesn't mean they're not, they're not accountable for their bad behavior. But they still don't make me feel anything. They don't make me think, feel, say, or do anything. That's true power. When I take my power back from the situation, when I take my power back from other people, and I decide in this moment, consciously and deliberately, who I'm going to be. This is, I started out the workshop by saying the most important question we can ask ourselves is, who do you think you are? Now I'm going to say the most important question we can ask ourselves is, who do you want to be in this situation? Who do you choose to be when you're confronted with somebody else's bad behavior, or somebody else not living up to their side of the bargain? a natural disaster, a virus, whatever. Who do you want to be in that moment? And that's when we become the creators of our lives rather than the reactors. We talked about the difference between reacting and responding, and the difference between being a reactor and a creator. And the creator takes their power back in that moment and says, it doesn't matter what they're doing or not doing. It doesn't matter what's happening or not happening. This is who I want to be in this situation. And I'm going to be that. And then I'm going to bring that to the other person or the situation, and we're going to work it out.